so much for joining me. I'm a bit of a stroller, so I'm going to come over to this side of the stage to begin with. We've got 20 minutes to run through everything today, all things creators driving commerce, all things bottom of the funnel conversion. Just to get a little elephant in the room out of the way, I have been screaming at the top of my lungs at Glastonbury for the last 5 days. So if my voice is a little bit hoarse, do bear with me. I will run to the other side of the stage for some water. So my name's Lucy. I'm the head of brand marketing at Connect. We're based just around the corner. We're a creative consultancy working with the likes of eBay, Panasonic, Nike, just to name a few, driving their creative strategies and their creative campaigns forward. So before I get stuck into the nitty-gritty here, I do want to dive into a few stats because I think we're all here because we know the creator marketing sphere can make a hell of a lot of money. Now, I'm going to be talking a lot about live stream shopping throughout the presentation today. Just want to call out this stat. This is a Chinese live streamer called Zeng. She has an incredible kind of accolade here. She's earned $19 million in just 7 days. The live stream shopping space over in China is vastly ahead of ours over here in the UK. There are some crazy stats around revenue, and it is something that is starting to seep over into the Western market. Next, we have ambassador programs for brands actually driving a huge proportion of their overall revenue. We've actually got one of our very own case studies towards the end of this presentation today. Very, who I believe are actually here today as well. We ran one of their creator networks a couple of years ago, managed to generate a 1-to-17 return. But if you've been in the creator space for some time, you will know how much the likes of Revolve are absolutely ahead of their game here, bringing in 70% of overall revenue via their ambassador program. And then a lot of you might have seen a bit of a shift recently with founders of brands actually becoming creators in their own right. I'm not sure if any of you have had a good old Charlotte Tilbury come up on your For You page recently. I can see some nods in the crowd. But this is Stormy Steele. She's the founder of Canvas Beauty. She recently shared just a couple of weeks ago that she's actually the first known person to earn $1 million through one single TikTok live. So there's all these staggering figures, right? We're talking millions and millions of dollars here, but how and why are creators actually responsible for driving this revenue? Why should you be investing your marketing budget into creator marketing? So number one is that trust factor with their audience. So you've got this stat here, 92% of consumers trust recommendations from individuals, even if they don't know them, over brands. And I think that trust factor has gone on quite a journey over the last few years. If you think about the next generation of people that are making that purchase decision, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, they've grown up with the likes of creators being absolutely commonplace as a form of marketing. A couple of years ago, I think there were a lot of brands that were like, oh, but if we put hashtag ad on it, if it says paid partnership, is that not really inauthentic? And I think we've gone full circle with that, where now actually, if it's a really aligned partnership, their followers are all for it. They're like, yes, get your bag. Only works though if it's a truly aligned partnership. And that's down to that trust factor, that relationship they have with their audience. Next up is about their impact on purchase decisions. So creator marketing content delivers 11 times higher return on investment than traditional marketing. And I think something that we need to give creators a little bit more credit for is the understanding that they have with their audience about what's actually going to drive that return, right? I think a lot of the time we go ahead and we brief the creators and we get so tunnel vision on the content, thinking about the output, which don't get me wrong, is so important. But bring them on that end-to-end journey. Tell them actually the overall success metric here is to drive sales. They will understand exactly how to tweak that content to optimize it and ensure you land that end objective. And then lastly, this is not just about top of the funnel. Influencers are no longer here just to drive awareness. So Austin Lee here has been known to sell $2.1 billion worth of product in just 1 day. And in one live stream, he actually sold 15,000 lipsticks in just 5 minutes. So when the conditions are correct here, when the conditions are right, it can work, but it's not always plain sailing. And I'm sure there are some people in the crowd here that have maybe invested a little bit into creator marketing before, and it hasn't necessarily worked for them. So they've gone, right, okay, that's not for me. That's not gonna work for me. I'm gonna invest in above the line. I'm gonna invest in TV. But there are some really common mistakes that we kind of see in this space. So I do want to run through a few of these very quickly. Number one is a lack of clear objectives. Have we all been there when we've gotten through maybe a quarter or a third of a campaign thinking, okay, this is an awareness driver campaign. And then maybe a stakeholder gets a bit excited about it, gets involved, and then goes, oh, no, 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 the only real success metric here is if we see an uplift in revenue. That completely changes the course of the campaign. If you're not clear from the very beginning about what it is you want to achieve, you're not going to land that end result. So if it is that you want to drive conversion, be very, very specific about that from day one. Number two is inadequate tracking. So if you do see an uplift in revenue around the same time that you're running a creator campaign, but you haven't done enough to track that campaign, you can't attribute those sales figures back to that creator. So whether you're going to use, trackable links, first-party pixels, whether you're going to use affiliates, whether you're going to go down more of a kind of live stream shopping route, maybe it's discount codes, all of which we'll touch on as part of this presentation, make sure that is absolutely watertight before you get going. Number three is one-off collaborations. Now, you might get the odd anomaly situation where this does work out, maybe for a lower price point product, if there's a really, really well-aligned partnership. But on the whole, you do want to be thinking long-term. Marathon, not a race, right? And I think the longer that you work with a set of creators, the more insight you gather about who exactly is a salesperson for that brand. What is the perfect persona for that brand in order to sell as much product as possible? And lastly, poor creator selection, by no means least. We see this a lot, right? We see people partnering up with creators that previously worked with competitors. Maybe they're not really well aligned in terms of their values. Perhaps they can't speak credibly about the product. Still manages to happen, and then people get confused as to why those people aren't kind of shifting product for them. So let's dig into that. How do you actually go about selecting the right creators? I pulled together a simple cheat sheet for you, so feel free to take a photo of this once all of them are up. So number one, know where your audience are playing. Say if you are a luxury travel brand, right, and you want to target affluent 50-plus members who have a lot of spare disposable cash to spend on a luxury holiday, are you going to be working with creators on Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn? Do you know? So make sure you do that due diligence to begin with to know where your audience play. At Connects, we use Tagger, we use GWI, just to make sure that once we build that database, we're speaking exactly to the people that are going to make the right purchase decision. Number two, check the insights. So it is not beyond the realms of possibility now to actually ask a creator or an agent for solid case studies when it comes to traffic to site, click-through rates, and they may even actually have a case study that they might be able to share around sales as well. If that's under NDA, you're still well within your rights to look at their click-through rates. So many times we see people get fobbed off by going with the creator that has 500,000 followers, but in the background, they're not driving any traffic to a landing page. So they're not going to do anything for you when it comes to revenue. So make sure you're checking those insights. Consider their credibility. If I'm a camera brand and I'm trying to sell a camera, I'm going to make sure that I work with someone who can talk about image stabilization or the USPs of that camera, the qualities of that camera, right? I'm not going to pick someone that's never picked up a DSLR in their life. So apply that to every single sector. Consider their credibility in that space. And even better, if they're actually already a lover of your brand, go one up on that. Do they match your values? If you have a really strong sustainability policy, why are you working with someone that's doing ASOS hauls? Why are you working with someone that's doing partnerships with fast fashion people? Make sure they actually match your values. And then finally, and I feel really, really strongly about this one, go beyond email. I think nowadays, we place so much reliance on email back and forth, and it becomes a bit of a faceless exchange. At Connects, every single creator we brief in is done one-to-one over a video call, or if we can meet them in person, even better. That time that you invest early on to bring them on that journey of what you want to get out of the campaign, what you hope to achieve, how you want the creative to look, just having that time invested at the beginning of the campaign, it's going to come back tenfold, right? They're going to really feel like an extension of your team rather than it feeling like a bit of a faceless exchange. So we know how we want to select them, but how do we actually work effectively with creators to drive sales? So what are a few of the mechanics that we can use here? So number one, trackable links and discount codes drive action. So brilliant example here from Flannels. This is their Christmas campaign that wrapped towards the end of last year. Party Never Stops. It was holistically ran on TikTok with a selection of creators. That content was then boosted, and they managed to drive $3.7 million worth of sales. And I think they had an 18 times return on their ad spend as well. The reason I love this, and the reason that I'll always hammer on about discount codes, is because we ran a bit of a focus group with a number of creators a few weeks ago. And we asked them, what is it about a campaign that would allure you to work on it? We always think about the other way, right? We always think about like finding the influencer. What about the influencer finding the campaign? What would attract them to work with a brand? And the number one thing that kept coming out of that focus group was discount codes, because it means they get to pass something on to their community, right? So you're not just paying for them to, promote a product that they hopefully love already. They actually get to kind of pass something back to their community. Now, discount codes are important in that sense, but also from a brand perspective, it means you can track every single sale back to a creator. If you are just using trackable links, you need to ensure that you have first-party pixel tracking installed on your website. I could do an entire other presentation on pixel tracking and trackable links alone, but that is a conversation for another day. My email address is at the end of this, if that's something that you want to dig into a bit further. But if you are using trackable links, be mindful that it can, to a degree, only track last click data. Next up, we have affiliates. So brilliant example here from Abercrombie & Fitch. They decided to use affiliates for a year-long creator network. What that gave them was a 56% increase year on year in sales revenue, able to attribute that directly back to this affiliates network. Now, affiliates are obviously brilliant in the sense that they gamify it ever so slightly for the creator, right? Every single sale driven by a creator, they get a small kickback. People here who have been to MadFest before or have been in the creator space for a while will be familiar with LTK, reward style. This was one of their campaigns. Brands like us or agencies like us can work seamlessly with LTK, right? We do the job of onboarding the creators, making sure they're briefed, making sure they're comfortable, basically getting the campaign set up end to end, but then LTK can plug in with their platform and ensure that that affiliate link is tracked, but also gives every single creator individually that kickback as well. And then long-term partnerships as well, that trust factor I mentioned earlier, and also that ability to kind of drive all of those insights over the course of a 12-month campaign. So this is a campaign we ran with Very. Very came to us with a bit of a business problem. They were shouting into an echo chamber, speaking to the same people over and over again. They really wanted to increase their new customer acquisition. So we developed a 12-month creator network, mostly because over the course of the 12 months, we wanted that data to tell us who is buying from Very. What is the profile of the creator that is seeing the most kickback in terms of revenue? And after a couple of months, it became quite prevalent. We managed to see that actually it was a regional mum with about 50,000 followers. We built more of those into the network, and that's how we drove this return on investment stat. For every pound that Very spent with us, we were able to develop a £17 return. And at the end of the year, 87% of Very's customers were new to the brand. So I touched on live stream shopping. It has seen absolutely insane growth in China over the last 7 years, $620 billion worth of growth in the last 7 years, sorry. And whilst that's not a new concept over here, you guys may have seen this on your For You pages, live stream shopping becoming more of a thing here. We are still a little bit behind. We are still a little bit in our infancy. Why am I telling you to take note of this? Live stream shopping can increase conversion by up to 3 to 5 times. And actually, if you're a clothing brand, that sits in the top purchase category for live stream shopping in 2024. It is the perfect marriage of two worlds, right? You have to have the right creator to front it, but you get the ease of e-com, sat at home on your sofa, scrolling through, but you also get the interactivity of an in-store experience. So, this isn't QVC, this isn't like a one-way street. You actually get to type, oh, how do I style that handbag with this dress? Or how would you translate this from a day-to-night look? So it's got that really, really nice interactivity piece, which is responsible for why that conversion is so high. So Fenty Beauty, eBay, Maybelline, already dabbling this. Maybelline, really interestingly, are actually using live stream shoppers as focus groups. So they did a campaign where they had a new range of lipsticks. There are about 5 different colorways. They did a day of live stream shopping, and they found that there was one colorway that vastly outsold the rest. So they then actually pivoted their marketing spend following that for the rest of the campaign. So they're actually using this live feedback as a focus group. So I've got to wrap up. I've had the signal. I told you this one would be short and sweet, but a few key takeaways from me. Optimize from the outset. See that first objective almost as the domino effect for the rest of the campaign. Get that tracking approach locked in, whether you are going discount codes, whether you're going trackable links and first-party pixels. Make sure that proof point is there from day one. Go through that creator checklist, because there's no, if you have everything set up in the background, but your creator cohort are not the kind of people that are going to drive sales, then it's going to land flat on its face anyway. And think long term. You need to see a piece of branded content around 11 times before you convert, according to a study done by Forrester. So again, this is a marathon, not a race. And that has been the most quickfire presentation I've ever done in my career. So if you guys have any other questions about how to drive commerce via a creator network, my email is up on screen. I'm at lucy@sceneconnects.com. Please do get in touch, and I'd be more than happy to chat, whether virtually or over a coffee. So drop me a line. Thanks.
Thank you, Lucy. That was absolutely awesome. Thank you so very, very much.